I am incredibly horny.
Coming here to see the show, we thought it sounded interesting.
I love the AME.
It looks like a lot of young composers and sounds like fun.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, maybe other pencils work. Yeah, maybe. Might have some. Oh.
It's impossible to be at a concert with David and not feel outdressed. He always does it, which is great. Not tonight. Okay. So I find it really interesting that this concert is all about sexuality and eroticism in music. And both of you have done two fabulous pieces. Well, David, quite a few actually, that have to do with sexuality. So I'm wondering what about it, what makes it, why is it part of your musicality? And maybe we'll start with David, because I know this has been a big part of your output for many years. Anyway, so here, take the mic.
Thank you, Rob. I've never been asked that question in public. I usually avoid that question, but this is that kind of program. Sex runs the world. And I think I focus on sex and being gay, because there are two forbidden things that have really never touched classical music. If I hinted at, certainly, but never explicit. And so I don't know, it fell to me to make those things explicit.
Now, Glenn, you're all the way from where you live.
Seattle.
All right. So, do you're how old? 30. And David, you're not that much older, but different. You're from a different generation. So, what inspired you to write this piece that we're going to hear today?
I think the inspiration really came from the text. I was reading a bunch of poetry by Frank Marshall Davis, who's author of poems, and these particular poems really spoke to me because they were so honest about the people. He didn't portray them for in a judgmental way about sex, and he didn't portray them in a way that just said, "Oh, you should feel pity for these people." Or anything like that. It was just a very honest depiction of each of these people and what their world was like and what their relationship with sex was. And I found that really fascinating because it was so honest and straightforward.
Yeah, okay, great. And I'm wondering for both of you, now, is this going to be part of your, do you think it's something that's going to continue throughout the rest of your output, or is it something that just happens spontaneously, to write about this kind of subject? Maybe David, you can talk.
Well, I can give a little background to this particular piece here tonight. I went to a retreat called Body Electric for gay men, and it was all about, it was a week-long thing, and learning to release your sexuality, limited, and all of that. And as part of the program, they read this poem, Under Submerged, which is about a professor, Stoddard professor, who finds a student that falls in love with him, not the usual other way. So the younger guy fell with the older guy, and of course it transformed him, he changed his life, and they went off forever in paradise. So hearing that poem in such an open, very open, defenses are down when you go to one of these retreats, impressed me, it touched me, and so it was always in my mind that I wanted to set it someday. So I got a commission that required nothing. Usually, people have their expectations. Certainly they never ask for a sexual explicit poem. But this was the Kusavitsky Foundation, and they just want a piece. So that was all right.
Okay, so maybe following that up, have either of you ever been censored? Has your music ever been banned? Maybe you could, Glenn, you could start.
No, not yet. Not yet. No, I haven't found a way to offend people yet.
And I think it's wonderful that everybody always says, oh, classical music is so stuffy, classical music this and that. But what you're hearing tonight is what many people would call classical music. But how many of us really think it sounds like Mozart and Beethoven, right? I mean, classical music? Not really. Well, wait, maybe you'll change your mind later. But David, how about you?
Well, actually, the piece was censored. It was going to have a premiere at the Great Lakes Festival in the Midwest, and they knew it was going to be sexually explicit. They said that was fine. Then they actually got a text and said, we can't use such a piece. And it turned out that the festival was run by 3 churches, Catholic, Jewish, and Protestant. But interestingly, they wouldn't say it's because it was so about a gay man. Because actually, there are not many dirty words in it or anything really that bad. But they said, children come to our concerts, and we don't want them to hear words like this. And the only words that are conceivably be dirty was the word semen, and I think that was it. But nonetheless, they censored it. So they performed the piece at its premiere without the spoken text, which makes no sense.
Glenn, I don't know how you follow that up, but maybe one more thing from you, and then we can finish up here. Here are the pieces. So tell me what you're doing now in Seattle. What are you up to?
A lot of different things. I'm composing. I just finished writing a jazz album, actually, which is all old-timey jazz. So I did some jazz bands as well as composing classical music and working at Seattle Opera. So working on work there. Yeah.
Well, I guess let's finish up so we can hear the music, and I can promise you that what you're about to hear, these 2 works will be completely uncensored. So anyway, thank you.